An ideal society. In another creation, Ptaah's discovery.
In the early 2000s, perhaps even in the late 1990s, the Plejarians were working on a technology that would enable them to begin to explore creations outside of our own twin creations. Through means to be revealed later, the Plejarians were able to determine that adjacent to our twin creations exists a creation termed a central creation. A central creation is further advanced in its evolution and no longer has a material belt. However, they also somehow knew that beyond that central creation, there exists another universe creation that is also a primary creation and thus has material worlds, etc.
As we know, only a creation in the first stage of evolution has a material belt.
Sometime between August and December of 2002, the Plejarians had progressed to the point where it was safe for Ptaah to safely set out with his great spacer and a large crew to explore that other first-level creation. Following is a chronological collection of excerpts from 7 contact reports that Billy had with Florina, Zafanat Paneak, Njana, Quetzal, and Ptaah to do with the progress of the expedition. The contacts span from December of 2002 into July of 2004.
1 2002 December 16th, BLK8CR 331 Florina reports on Ptaah's exploration of the other universe.
For my part, I am to send from Ptaah to you and all group members that he sends his greetings to everyone, and that he and all his companions are well, and that no problems have arisen. Meanwhile, he has penetrated into the material part of the universe, as I told you earlier. They have not yet found any life forms of any higher kind. Discoveries of life forms are limited so far only to microorganisms. Furthermore, it is a first universe universe of the creation, like our Dern universe.
However, you stand in an ongoing connection with Ptaah, right?
That is the case, yes.
And the universe adjacent to our Dern universe, what form is that? Could that already be fathomed? A channel had to be created through it, which is probably called a wormhole here. In any case, it must be something that falls within this framework.
The adjacent universe, which we have not yet named, as well as the one where Ptaah is not located, is a higher universe, a central universe, which we cannot travel to.
Screen grab from the Evolution of the Creation video by and courtesy of M. Oitebrook.
Since the central creation is dimensioned differently in its evolution than our Dern universe and its dimensions, we are only able to create an energy tunnel through it in order to reach the other side of the universe where Ptaah is located. So what you call channel, we call energy tunnel.
Ptaah is over there with his great spacer, and it must take enormous masses of energy to create this tunnel and maintain it. And how do you create this energy?
That is correct. Ptaah is in the foreign universe with his great spacer flying device. The energy for the creation of the energy tunnel and its maintenance we get from a black hole, as you call it. Other sources would be far too small in every respect to generate the necessary energies.
Could you make a comparison?
I am not familiar with this field, but I know that the energies needed per second include several times the massive energy, as you call it, that a sun like the one in your system releases in 1 second.
As a layman in physics, I am afraid this is a closed book. But it gives me the notion that an enormous mass of energy is needed, which we on Earth are probably not yet capable of producing by any means, right?
That is absolutely correct. Such enormous energies cannot be created by pure technical means, as they are available to terrestrial human beings or even to us. In fact, gigantic cosmic objects are required for this purpose, which must also be inexhaustible in their energy supply, as is the case only with a black hole.
Can any kind of black hole be used for this purpose? That is to say, a stationary or a moving one.
In principle, the energies can be used by any kind. But for the specific purpose of the energy tunnel, only the energies of a stationary black hole can be used. In the case of our energy tunnel, however, we do not use a simple black hole to generate energy, but a twin structure, by which I mean two similar black holes that are close to each other and allow their energies to flow into each other.
Interesting. I have never heard of that. How far apart are such twin black holes from each other that they can still interact with their energies and still not eat each other, and therefore not merge, if I may put it like that?
Your description is good, as is your assumption that a certain distance between the objects is necessary, which results from their power. To be calculated are the distances in a larger number of light years.
The gravitational forces of the black holes alone extend over hundreds, thousands, or even millions of light years, depending on their size.
The type of black hole is also important.
I understand. There are different kinds of black holes, whereby different modes of activities also appear, as Quetzal once explained to me.
That is correct.
Since nothing of importance has yet emerged in the foreign universe, there is probably no point in discussing it further. So let's leave it alone until something new comes up. And if Ptaah stays over there for a longer time, the talks with him will fall flat.
#2, 2003 February 3rd, BLK-8CR 334. Reported by Anjana.
With Ptaah, is everything going well there? And will he return soon?
Everything is going according to expectations, which means that no difficulties have arisen, and none are to be expected. His return will still take some time.
What also interests me, what can be expected in terms of life and physical concerns in the foreign universe?
According to the latest information, no human life forms have been found yet, neither in a more highly developed nor in an original form. On several occasions, however, very low life has already been found.
You mean microorganisms?
Yes, and in many different forms. But higher life must already exist in this universe because different amino acids, etc. were found. Ptaah expects that sooner or later he will also encounter human life.
#3, 2003 February 16th, BLK-8CR 336. Reported by Florina and Zafin at Ptaah.
Ptaah sends you the information that his expedition is successful in its search for human life.
This is indeed a surprise. What kind of human beings were found, advanced or highly developed?
If by your question you mean human first life or human life already capable of high technology, then this is not true. It is neither low developed nor highly developed life. The life forms found live in natural caves and are therefore still very primitive forms, but nevertheless capable of reason and conscious mind.
Cavemen, then. Then they will have some tools, right?
As Ptaah reports, the found human beings have various stone tools and weapons made of polished or split stones. So they are in possession of self-made stone clubs, knives, and spears.
Then one finds that the development takes place similarly as it did on our good old Mother Earth.
That is right, because wherever human life is created on planets, the same developmental phases and developmental processes naturally take place.
So not only in our universe, but in everyone that has a gross material belt, and therefore stars, galaxies and planets and comets, space nebulae, meteors and everything else.
Your assumption is correct.
But the expedition will continue?
That is the case, yes. The expedition will go on for some months.
I did not think Ptaah would return so soon.
#4, 2003 March 19th BLK, 8CR 340. Reported by Quetzal.
Is there any news about Ptaah?
He reported that many new things were discovered which are unknown in our universe, and which must have developed and changed and dissolved at the earliest times. The calculations showed that the foreign universe in its total existence is 22 trillion years younger than our Dern universe. The material belt, and thus the visible material universe, has a current age of 9 billion years, and is therefore much younger than ours. Apart from microorganisms, diverse small life forms and a planet with primeval human life forms, and all kinds of small, medium, large, and very large animals, as well as air and water beings, no highly developed life forms have yet been found, by which I mean beings of the human species. Probably it will still take a long time before such life is found. As has been shown by the discovery of the primeval human forms, highly developed beings must therefore also exist. Side note, our universe is 46 trillion years old. Theirs is thus 24 trillion years old. And our material belt is about 17 billion years old.
Let us be surprised about what else turns up.
Have you actually created a name for the foreign universe yet?
A provisional name was given, but in the meantime, according to Ptaah's proposal, the name Radern Universe has been established for the foreign universe.
I see. What does this designation mean?
Of course you cannot know that. The term Radern refers to the abbreviation of Rein Alinu Dajansini Ern Ruan Nitrapralano.
Right. Very interesting. But I'm standing like a donkey on a mountain, because apart from Dajansini, which means creation, and Nitrapralano, which means unveiled, everything is like a bohemian village to me. Unfortunately, I cannot understand more. And how is everything written?
I understand. In our written language, all nouns are written with capital letters, as is every word at the beginning of a sentence. You can take the German written language as a model. The name Reine Alinu Dajansini Ern Ruan Nitrapralano comes from the old language of Nocedemian and means new foreign creation that unveils itself.
On a side note, Dern and Dal, a universe in our sister creation, abbreviations/meanings are also known. Dern is an abbreviation for the name given in the old Nocedemian language, Dajansini Ern Ruan Nitrapralano, =, creation that unveils itself. Dal is an abbreviation for the name given in the old Nocedemian language, Dajansini Arg Lazar Neuralin, =, creation as second born.
#5, 2003 June 3rd, BLK 9342. Update by Florina.
By the way, has something new come up with Ptaah?
I have forgotten that he sends his regards. Everything goes well with his expedition, which also discovered technological things that testify to more highly developed life of a human nature. It is a highly technological probe drifting through space, but its originators have not yet been found.
There can be no doubt that the origin of the object will be found, since Ptaah and his team will surely follow the probe's trail of origin, and sooner or later find the makers.
That will certainly be the case.
#6, 2003 July 21st, BLK 9CR 345 Ptaah is back.
Man, friend Ptaah, this is really a surprise. Be warmly welcomed and greeted, you Universe Explorer. Tell me, since when are you back here? Florina only told me today at noon that today someone will still drop by, but she said nothing about the fact that this would be you. Clearly it goes well with you, and you also appear to be contented. Therefore, I assume your expedition must have culminated successfully.
You are very pleased to see me, my friend. This applies, however, also on my part, and it particularly pleases me to see you well and in good health. You be greeted as well. Yes, your assumption is correct because my expedition was successful. This at least for the first venture, about which you certainly want to hear, I assume, yes? To say is this, that suddenly everything very quickly has come to an end because on the 30th of June, when we have unexpectedly found a humanity, to which a probe in space brought us when we searched for its origin. Unfortunately, I do not have enough time today to explain everything in detail, so I will do so at a later point in time.
Of course, I know, because Quetzal reported to me regarding this probe asterisk.
However, he was of the opinion that your expedition was to last still a longer time. Now, however, start shooting, briefly and succinctly. What arises from the foreign universe? You must not be detailed, but just briefly and succinctly describe the most important events. We can talk about it at a later time in detail, as you say. Asterisk. This was only documented in the previous contact report with Florina. Quetzal must have spoken about it in private with Billy.
So then listen. Actually, it appeared that we must extend our expedition still several months, but then success arrived unexpectedly. First, after several months of searching, we found a planet on which rather still wild humans lived, who were only equipped with stone axes, stone spears, and stone knives.
Thus cavemen, respectively Stone Age humans, are similar, correct?
Yes, they lived partly in caves, but also partly in primitive huts, which they made out of branches, leaves, and moss. Across the planet, we were able to identify 46 different groupings. The planet itself had large primeval forests, as well as fertile land, on which many and diverse animals roamed and fed themselves on all kinds of things. You can yourself imagine approximately the same appearance that Earth presented around 6 million years ago. Weeks later, after which we further penetrated into the foreign universe, we came upon a small artificial object, which was drifting through free space. When we got hold of it, we established that it was a probe created by intelligent life forms, which certainly had served for the exploration of a planet, but however apparently was driven from its course and was thrown out into free space. So, we calculated the flight path of the probe and followed it for several months, after which we then actually reached a solar system, in which about a dozen planets moved around a central star, although certainly only 2 of the planets were developed in such a wise that they were able to carry higher life, as we soon discovered. On one of the planets, the third, which was somewhat smaller than Earth, and which was about 1.51 astronomical units distant from the Sun, and which traveled on its 677-day-long orbit about the central star, and had a self-rotation of 21 hours and 37 minutes. There existed no human but only higher animal life forms of primeval form, as well as also this primeval condition applied to the vegetation. The second planet, somewhat greater than the Earth, had 3 large island continents, which existed in a large saltwater ocean and were surrounded by a large number of smaller islands. Their entire mass was around 1/3 greater than the continental masses and islands of Earth together. This planet was at a distance from the Sun of 1.48 astronomical units and had a self-rotation of 22 hours and 52 minutes.
On a side note, in CR 246, it is stated that the accurate figure for our AU is 152,955,347 kilometers, which is 1.0 AU. Billy says our scientists have this slightly incorrect at 149,597,871 kilometers. Our scientists now say the habitable zone is 0.99, 1.7 AU with a mean O of 1.34. CR 246 AU figures range from 1.00 Earth, 1.52 AU giving a mean of 1.26, which is within 1%, making a 1.27 AU mean possible for the habitable zone where life arises and human life-supporting physical matter emerges. CR examples, however, are too few to assume a universal mean AU. Thus, that is why the third wild planet, previously mentioned, with an AO of 1.51, with diverse life forms already, will most likely eventually develop human life forms of its own. Or perhaps when this second planet, with the 3 continents, has reached higher technological capabilities and are able to travel in space, they will colonize it. Who knows? It sure would be handy if we had a second inhabitable planet nearby. Oh wait, we do. Mars is 1.52 AU away. It just squeaks into the habitable O-range. Small problem is that there is no atmosphere there. Ptaah continues. The planet carried human civilizations. In fact, there were 3 different races, which consisted of diverse peoples, who were of white, green, and blue color, adding to a total number of around 498 million human beings. Our clarifications, which we carried out unobserved and without direct contact undertakings with the occupants, resulted in astonishing things, as I want to explain as follows.
The populations of the 3 continents speak only 3 different languages, each with a uniform dialect, which we have not found anywhere else. And although the 3 races work together in every respect, such as medically, scientifically, and technologically, etc., they do not mix with one another in the wise that there would exist marriage alliances between members of different races. All 3 races had the same culture, the same state of knowledge in all things, and a medical science, which, highly developed, registered only just minor sicknesses. So in this respect, they are far ahead of terrestrial medical and surgical science. There was nothing to find regarding religions and cults of any kind, because all 3 races do not recognize belief in any wise, but only a kind of universal philosophy, which is based on the fact that all life and existence arises from a higher power, which is simply called the might by them. This is quite reverently observed, respected, and honored, however it is not worshipped and not venerated. The might constitutes for them all origin of life and all existence, which both comes to be, and again passes away, and again comes to be, and a unity in a duality is taught. So the material and the might, which lives in the material, passes away and again comes to be, while the material dissolves and changes into other material forms.
This is practically the reincarnation of the spirit form. The might would be then simply creation, and at the same time the spirit form.
It is so, just only with other terms, as well as also everything interpreted and understood by the occupants of the planet. Regarding these 3 races still is to say that they are absolutely peaceful, in fact, both from human to human, as well as, however, also among the races and their peoples themselves. Wars are foreign to them just as well as hate and criminality, and purely technologically viewed, they are at the position which prevailed with Earth humans in the year 1968.
Astonishing. Then these human beings are far ahead of Earthlings. However, how is it then with the form of government?
Each people decides together on all interests, although a total representation of all 3 races exists, which is built in the form of an assembly of men and women, which as highest authority is to gain the required recognition of the will of the people.
A little complicatedly expressed, my friend. If I correctly understand your words, then with these 3 races and their peoples, so to say, there exists a combined leadership, which consists of persons, respectively representatives of all 3 races. This leadership personnel exists in the service of the people, respectively of all peoples, and executes their decision. Respectively, they are responsible for the fact that the will of the people, respectively, peoples, is carried out. Then it's, so to say, a proper democracy. And how is it with these leadership personnel? Do they have then also their own power of decision?
Your interpretation corresponds to the sense of my words. The leadership personnel, which consists of 3 persons from all peoples, have only executing and advisory powers of the respective peoples, and they do not have their own possibility for decision. All leadership personnel are elevated to the standing of wise persons, whose duty it also is to work out all required necessities and present them to the people, who then decide about them. Incidentally, the 3 races and all their peoples do not know any party system, as is the case with the Earth humans. On the other hand, they have the manner of voting in the wise, as was the case since ancient times in Switzerland in the manner of rural communities, in which the majority decision applied. The interests on which must be voted are announced first by the leadership personnel on the day of the vote, when the people assemble and have to deliver a for or against vote. So therefore no previous consultations are able to be made. Consequently, each citizen of each people, according to his or her own discretion, and in accordance with his or her decision, has to make their own choice.
Interesting. How is it then with the military, respectively the armed forces?
Here, pure harmony and peace exists among all three races and all of their peoples for a little more than 1,208 planetary years, and no armed forces and no weapons industries for military purposes exist.
And so, what about the police?
There is no such organization in the wise, like on the earth. There are powers for order, but these form a law and order protection and security protection, which provides for the order and security of the population in relation to natural events, by which I mean natural events. The races and their peoples themselves live in an orderly manner, which has no one who has gotten very badly out of control of the good human nature, like this is the case with the peoples of the earth.
So to speak, an ideal state.
In certain respects, one can indeed speak of an ideal.
What to me is still of interest, dear friend, is their technology of locomotion. Do they have also still such primitive airplanes and automobiles, etc., like we on Earth? This is certainly to be assumed, if they have the technological position which we possessed in 1968. Am I correct?
Your assumption is not entirely correct, because certainly they have a similar technology of locomotion, but the drives are not sustained by explosion motors using benzene and diesel oil, but they are driven with synthetic substances. All three races and all of their peoples do not exploit the petroleum of the world. All necessary substances for all things are from plants of many kinds as well as produced synthetically.
And the food?
There exist large community gardens as well as joint farming holdings, like gardens and small farms, which, however, are also run by individual persons or small groups. And before you ask, there are economically useful animals kept and bred for work and for food purposes, though, however, any form of cruelty to animals is taboo. Flesh for food of humans is solely produced through breeding and slaughtering of certain animals. Fruits, vegetables, and flesh of many and diverse forms, as well as all other necessary food items and required products of other kinds, are in abundance and plentiful, and from this follows that nowhere does famine exist. All bodies of waters and forests, meadows, fields, and marsh areas are healthy and completely intact. Chemical products are not laid down for the purposes of protection or growth of plants, but only substances, which in turn consist of natural products. Hunting for any wild game is taboo because game meat is likewise only produced through breeding, like this also is the case with the flesh of fish, etc.
Have you also established how old the humans get to be?
Naturally, the average age of the humans of all three races is a uniform 128 years, and death as a rule is due to old age.
So they are also much ahead of the Earthlings in this respect. But what happens to the deceased human beings? I mean, how are they laid to rest, cremated or buried, etc.?
The deceased are laid out upon a stone bed far away from residential areas and especially created for them, individual small yet very stable stone houses, after which the entrance is closed with rocks and boulders. After that, the deceased are left to decompose.
Do you mean by this something like a vault? Is it with the bereaved then also, as is usual on earth, that they visit these tombs?
No, this does not likewise belong to tradition, as well as also not the decoration of tombs with flowers, etc. Also, no inscriptions are displayed and no ritual at all is indulged in at the burial. Among all races exists also no fear of dying and death. The whole thing is considered and honored as a natural and inevitable event.
So should it also be with us? Yet tell me now, you are only really able to reach this foreign universe because in your ancient data you had the recordings of Hanok at your disposal. Was Hanok perhaps already over there? And do you go back again soon?
universe. However, we first must exactly still discover this, which a travel back in time back will certainly be required, precisely into the time when Enoch worked. On my part, for the time being, I will not be returning back there, but a large part of our expedition remains over there. Consequently, it will further explore the three human races and everything around them, as well as a large part of the universe.
#7 2004 February 27th CR 353 Ptaah.
One more question. In the time since you have returned from the foreign universe, have any new things happened there?
No news has been found concerning other human life forms, although 2 expedition groups are very busy. So far, 4 different worlds have been found that carry higher animal life, but no human life forms could be found on them.
How interesting to find out that the Plejarans only knew of the existence of this other creation through the records of Enoch. This glimpse into the mechanics of this undertaking and their findings in this other primary creation is quite astonishing. Given that Billy's spirit form formerly enlivened Enoch, he probably has an inkling, if not direct knowledge from his storage banks about this, for now he's not spilling the beans, at least not to us. Thus it remains a bit of a cliffhanger as we wait to find out what the time travels will reveal about what Enoch's involvement was with these people at earlier times. Was he a prophet and proclaimer for them too? Their lives are in harmony with the natural laws of creation and closely mirror the lifestyle and conduct of the Plejarans. Is this coincidental? We also look forward to future reports on what Ptaah's expeditionary groups find.
Compilation and commentary Catherine Mossman, Tiny on Canada, July 2023.